AEW Fairway to Hell and WWE Backlash yesterday felt like two different sides of the coin. Here's why. Welcome back, everybody, to Screw Script. I'm your host, as always, Maverick here. Thanks for joining me this Sunday evening. I'm in my OG mask. I haven't worn this mask in I don't know how long, probably close to a year now. This was the original mask that started it all. If you're one of my OG subscribers, you understand that this is pretty crazy to see. Let's get on to the video as we have here. That's going to be about Fairway to Hell and Backlash. Now, again, I did a poll earlier in the week this week. Majority of you said to only cover WWE during, breaking news. So that's why I am covering Backlash, because there is two things that are from Backlash that are breaking news. The rest I'll just skim over very quick. But first, let's get into the AEW stuff, as that's going to be the main chunk of this video. Backlash will just be like a quick minute or two telling you guys and keeping you up to date on what's going on in the world of WWE. Fairway to Hell. What a monumental show it was for being only an hour. I think it ran a little over an hour, like an hour, 10 minutes, something like that. They only had 3 matches announced, but that was all that was needed for this to be a banger show. You had Darby versus Pac for the World Championship. We'll get to that in a few minutes. It opened up with the National Championship match between Jack Perry and Mark Davis. Boy, was this great. I have loved all of the vignette videos that Jack Perry and Luchasaurus have done on the Jurassic Express bus, touring around the country as he defends the title. This was his 4th defense, a really good opening match, back and forth action. Jack Perry looked great against a guy who is honestly twice his size, but still held his own. Mark Davis deserved this, though. As he comes out on top, he is the new national champion, as we saw Ricochet get involved, furthering storyline in AEW with Jack Perry. And we saw him later on backstage in a segment, but he comes in and he clubs Jack Perry across the spine with a golden club, a golf club. Very fitting for the show that we got. Great way to have both Jack Perry look great still, even though he lost the title, and a deserving moment for Mark Davis, as we all know that his tag partner was injured at the very beginning of the year, I feel like it was, and a torn pec, that's nothing to mess with. He's probably not going to be back until the end of summer. And Mark Davis has been grinding his ass. He is honestly one of the most underrated wrestlers in AEW, so I think he deserved this very much. A monster heel. He's going to be defending this title against many people, I'm sure, before he falls to somebody. Maybe he'll defend it through spring and summer until at the end of summer. Maybe at All In, he loses to somebody at All In. Or maybe he holds on to it even longer. I don't know, but a great first match. Then we had Divine Dominion with a segment backstage prior to their match saying that if anybody can survive 5 with Divine Dominion, they will get a future championship. Kind of like the opposite side of the Max Caster survive 5 with the best wrestler alive. I loved that. I really not quite sure what's going on with Max Caster, actually. He has not been in AEW TV for a couple of months now, I feel like. They had him and Anthony Bowens had a match. I forget where it was, GCW or something. And they ended up making amends. They shook hands and everything after Bowens beat him. But that was the last time we saw him. I sure hope that he is not getting written out of AEW and going to WWE. I think that they would just completely cook his character. Very watered down. He would essentially become a comedic act for his whole career over there. I want the Acclaimed back more than anything. I think they would add a lot of fire to the tag division, especially since you saw Mark Quinn get injured yet again. He just cannot catch a break. And Isaiah Cassidy was said to have had singles push, but we haven't seen him since he had that backstage segment a month ago. So no clue what they're doing with that there. But the tag division is so deep. It's the best tag division in pro wrestling right now. And Divine Dominion showcased that. They had a great 3-minute match only. It was a squash. Not quite full-on squash because the other two got some moves in. But they came out on top. And it just is looking more and more likely that we're going to see the Brawling Birds be the tag team that will take it off of them. at All In Wembley. After that, we had a fill-in match. Speedball Mike Bailey took on a guy that I really like, actually, from ROH. Kieran Gray, I believe his name was. I think it's Kieran. It's either Kieran or Kyron. Kieran Gray. I like him. I like his tenacity. He's ruthless. He's got raw aspects to him. And I like his presentation, how he looks. So I hope that he gets utilized more in ROH, eventually gets utilized more, whether it's on Collision or Dynamite, as just this great heel. Honestly, I could really see him joining the Death Riders if they wanted to add another wrestler. I liked him a lot. Speedball comes out on top. Another quick match. But let's get to that main event. Literally the highlight of the entire night across all pro wrestling, not just AEW. It was unique. All night long, the entrances were great. Very interesting entrances going down that hall. They passed by those golfing simulators. They used, I believe, one of the screens, actually, for Titantron stuff. Just very creative by AEW once again. They do a superb job with these unique venues that they've been running since middle 2025 is when they started running all these very, very interesting and unique ballrooms, smaller venues, Roy Wilkins Auditorium, which I've gone to twice. Now we see at SoFi Stadium, their indoor fairway park, and it was really, really gripping. As soon as my eyes locked on the screen when they had the intro for the show, I loved it instantly. So different than what you see in all of pro wrestling outside of AEW. And the main event utilized it so well. You saw right away, Darby goes out of the ring, runs all the way to the fairway. Two nitpicks I have on the whole night was that I wish it was longer. And I think if they're going to do this annually, I think they could set it up a little bit better where you maybe have a longer entrance come across the fairway and people surrounded maybe on the fairway. I don't know if they're allowed to do that, though. You saw literally a Bob Barker and Happy Gilmore segment.
I think you've had enough. No? Now you've had enough, bitch.
You guys understand that. You saw them take it to each other on the fairway. Suplexes done into the sand traps and everything. It was brilliant. It was just so damn fun to watch. I was clapping and laughing the whole time in a good way, unlike a cringy thing that I'll talk about in a couple minutes. And then you had my Maverick moment of the night, not just of Collision, but all of pro wrestling. Here it is.
Off the top, my God, no! A fairway! Oh my God!
I have no clue how Darby Allin gets up from shit like that, let alone retains, as he did come out on top against Pac. He low blows Pac later on as, returning the receipt, essentially. Strikes him across the head with the title, hits him with the coffin drop, 1, 2, 3. That's all she wrote. And a very interesting thing happened where we saw backstage Okada apparently is in Japan on a business trip, and Takeshita is going to take on Darby Allin. So there you go. There's a graphic. Takeshita, Darby Allin announced for Wednesday. Going to be incredible. And here's a prediction by me. I think Okada is actually going to show up and cost Takeshita this title, furthering their feud, leading into Double or Nothing. And it's really going to make Takeshita look like a massive fucking babyface when he takes that title from Okada. It's going to be beautiful. So overall, Fairway to Hell was one of the most unique pro wrestling experiences I've had in some time. One of the best hour-long shows for AEW in its history. Honestly, I would say probably their best hour-long show they've had since, I know it's going to be a divisive saying this, but since CM Punk's debut in Chicago, that Rampage, I believe it was, a Rampage, just really good hour-long episode of pro wrestling. Emphasis on the pro wrestling. As now we're going to quickly get into Backlash. I am going to cover this briefly on this video just for a couple of minutes because there are two big things that happened there. All you really need to know from Backlash are a few things. It was Wacklash. That's what I called it last year. I'm going to call it again. It was better than last year's, though. Three big things to take away, and then a surprising mention by John Cena, which I'll get into that. Danhausen had a midget for a partner. Minniehausen is what he was called. Didn't like that. Just corny as hell. Cringe comedy is what I like to call that. AAA is going to a 2-day event, so it's going to cost 10 million pesos a ticket. Here's the first big one, then we'll get to Cena's. This does affect AEW, and that's why I'm bringing this up especially. Asuka had a sort of a farewell after her match against Io. I think she's going to either retire or she's going to go to New Japan, maybe make an appearance for a brief period of time like Danielson did in AEW. Let me know down below what you think Asuka's going to do, but it all seems likely that Asuka is about to, at the very least, leave WWE. If this is farewell to her wrestling career, thank you, Asuka, for great wrestling. I wish you were utilized better in WWE. Could have been cool to see you in AEW for a final run, but you can't have everybody in AEW for a final run. So that's big news. And then the even bigger news, John Cena's announcement. Obviously, I thought it was going to be another TKO bullshit thing for more money grabbing, but no, it was a little bit more different. I'll give him that. Unique, but I don't like it. Cena came out and announced the Cena Classic, basically. I mean, are they just taking notes from AEW at this point? The Continental Classic, the Cena Classic, damn near spot on. You could literally call both the C2, but it's very confusing. He goes on to say that it's a tournament to crown Cena champion or whatever their title is going to be, or trophy. I don't know what it is exactly. I can't remember what he said, but apparently you can lose in the tournament, kind of like the Continental Classic where it's points added up, but it's not in that sense. It doesn't make that much sense like it does for AEW. AEW's Continental Classic makes sense. You know, you can lose, but you can still pick up points in later matches. Apparently for this, their twist was that you can lose, but by popular vote and demand, someone could still win. So that means a guy like Danhausen could go in this, lose every match, but win the popular vote and win? Make that make sense, WWE, John Cena. I think it's confusing as hell. I think it's good on paper, but it's going to be sloppy when it happens. I don't know, but let me know down below what you guys think about that Cena announcement. And now on to my very first Q&A for the remainder of this video. Not doing a DDT because my Q&A is going to replace the DDT segment when I do Q&A videos, which I don't know how often I'm going to do them, but I'm finally doing one. So I feel like it was about time to finally have one. So I asked what your guys' ratings were on Fairway to Hell, and here's some answers. Bong Jovi 420 says, that golf course segment was so dope. It really was. Morgan J27, for a 1-hour show, they packed it with amazing moments and matches that you won't get anywhere else. That's for sure. I had to remind myself that the pay-per-view isn't until the 24th. Title change and Pac versus Darby gives it a good 4 out of 6 for an hour show that was randomly created, says JR-He6FN. Benta Bob, sorry if I'm butchering that. I had so much fun watching it live, made me miss Rampage. Venue looked awesome, I agree there. Could have used one full match instead of 2 squash matches, but it was a really great show. It was still insane. Don Johnson 7550 says that. I agree. Well, I liked the Divine Dominion part. Didn't need the speedball thing. I would have liked actually like a segment in the ring, maybe from MJF or somebody instead. Tyler Crasting goes, super fun show. Loved Mark Davis winning the national title, but I hope Jack Perry wins it back. Was loving his vignettes. I agree. I said that earlier in my video, but well-deserved for Mark Davis. Angelo9534 says, way better than Backtrash. Darby Allin versus Pac, AEW World Heavyweight Champion. No countouts, was epic match of the night. Clears Backtrash. That's funny. But I agree. I mean, highlights that I saw of Backlash, whatever you want to call it, it was better. 5 out of 6 was awesome, a lot of fun. Darby shows how great of a wrestler he is and how much wrong the doubters were. Very true. He's a fighting champion. Yes, he's smaller. Who cares? He out-wrestles everyone in WWE right now. 4.5 out of 6 cans of whoop ass. That was the best hour of wrestling on Saturday, bar none, says Delayed Gratz. Oh, by the way, that was Stanton 7289. Sorry if I butchered that. David Netterwald 1846 says, I would have given it 4 if not for that insane main event. Just for that, I'm bumping it up to a 5 out of 6. Don Johnson 7550 says 5. The Madov MFV says 5.5 out of 6. Great hour of wrestling that flew by with a unique venue and aesthetic. Matches with consequences, wins and losses mattering, and a hot crowd. Yes, very good crowd. Hashira28, how do you see the Takeshita Darby match going next Wednesday since Okada is on business in Japan? I went over this. Yeah, I think Okada is going to come out and cost Takeshita the match, the title shot, and it's going to further escalate their feud going into Double or Nothing. Kairos OBJ, it was very good. Yes, it was. Guav25, sorry if I'm butchering that as well. Crazy spot. I hope Darby retains the championship longer, but this is going to be short but sweet run. I do think he is still going to lose MJF. I don't think MJF's going to shave his head. 4.5 cans of whoop ass would have been 5 if it was 2 hours long. Yes, that was one of my minor, tiny nitpicks. 2-hour show of this would have been great. 6 out of 6 crushing cans on my forehead. Haven't missed an episode. Says Joshua Hawaii. Sorry if I'm butchering that. 3835. The show was awesome. The place is unique. It was also better than the shit show that SmackDown was because it revolved around a fucking gingerbread man. Yeah, the gingerbread man stuff. Ray Phoenix was there. God, he should have never left AEW. That's all I want to say about that. Show was incredible. 5 out of 6 cans of whip-ass Mav. Also, finally, a Q&A. Yes, sorry for the delay on that. My main event, though, fire. Better than whatever WWE showed, but not as good as previous AEW shows. Darby vs. Pac was badass. Well, it wasn't a pay-per-view, but really good show. Crazy, man. I went to MLW tonight. Great show. Catch it on YouTube. I watched Collision after returning home. Tonight's show is 4 out of 6. I will catch that MLW show. Thanks for that. 5 out of 6 from Juan Alvarez. Luis Santiago says easily better than Backtrash was. 23 upvotes there, so a lot of people agreed with that, which not surprising. And finally, Raven Rock Bro, yo, show was hella dope. Was that for real? 100 easy 6 out of 6 cans, bro. As perfect as an hour show can get. I agree. Really good show. And then Grey Wolf 2835. AEW is currently the best American pro wrestling promotion out there. What a banger of an episode. This was better than most pay-per-views of other wrestling companies. Yes, I did enjoy this more than Backlash. At least from the highlights that I saw from Backlash. Thank you to all that submitted. That's all I have in this video on Screw the Script. Let me know down below if you didn't get involved in that Q&A, what you thought of Fairway to Hell yesterday. What are your thoughts on the Cena announcement for their new tournament that they have? That's the big takeaway from Backlash. And Asuka, which could affect AEW. Do you potentially see her showing up in AEW, or do you think she retires? As always, this has been Maverick with Screw the Script. Thanks for watching.